And all the ladies and the men here are going to try to do your mommy's job because we love you so much. And it's going to be hard because she did a super good job. But we love you. She's up there. We love you guys.
Okay, someone else, you can come and stand up in line here. Give us your name, please.
A little shorter, sorry.
Pull it away.
Oh, thank you. Not used to these. My name is Sarah Wilkeson, and I met Scott and Francis and Sarah and Rebecca through adoption, through the Napa campouts. And then, unfortunately, we got to meet each other again through the world of cancer. They've been a great, strong support for us while we battled with our son through cancer. And we had the privilege of last year taking Sarah and Rebecca to family camp. Yeah, you remember? Yeah, you remember. It was fun. We got to take them while their mommy was in the hospital getting her going on the ventilator. One of the most amazing things I remember about Francis is the day that we came back from camp, and Sarah and Rebecca and my husband and Alex and Tessa walked up to the hospital room so that they could see their mom. And Scott brought the girls into the hospital room, and my husband and our kids, we all stayed outside. And the very first thing we heard was the computer saying, "I love you, Sarah. I love you, Rebecca." Those are the first words that Frances said to her daughters. The first words that we heard through the computer. And it was just so touching to us, and just a testament of how much they truly love you, and how much your mom truly loves you and still does. That's it.
Someone else. Either come forward to the mic, or you can raise your hand and Dakota will bring you a microphone.
My name's Ginger Hollis. Hope I can get through this without crying. We moved to Oregon in 1987 and met Scott and Francis shortly after that. And we had the privilege of mentoring them. I mentored Francis, and my husband Daryl mentored Scott. And as you all have said, Francis was very quiet, and she was quiet back then too. And as we would go through a discipleship book, you know, you have any questions? And like, no, she pretty much got it. And so we had the privilege of knowing them. My husband was Scott's best man at their wedding, and even though they're 10 years younger than us, we've kind of kept in contact with them over the years, visited them a few times when they were in Ohio. But what I want to share with you is probably the memory Frances would share if it was my service, because she often would bring it up. We had two little ones. Our first one was born in '87 and the second one in '88. And the following summer, they were, I guess you guys were home from college, but my husband and I also ride motorcycles. And we would go to a few rallies with Scott and Frances once in a while, but we're also BMW motorcycle owners. And we were going to take a trip, but we had these two little ones. So who do we have to watch the family? We didn't have any family in the immediate area. And so Frances, we asked her, and she was more than willing to come and stay at our house and watch them. The problem was I had just gotten back from a trip back east where our kids, we were at a family reunion, and our kids were in a lake swimming that the next day was closed because of bacteria. And therefore, the messy diapers of the youngest one wasn't the funnest thing to change. And so Frances, you know, she was just always willing to do things, and so that was something that she put up with. Obviously, I'm not sure I knew about it before I left or not, but she loved to remind me that, yes, for a few days she was changing a very messy diaper so my husband and I could go motorcycling, and that's the type of person she was. I think she was just willing to try any and everything. When I would have home parties, she would often come. Different Bible studies, she would try them out. And it's not that she necessarily enjoyed everything, but I think my memory of her would be that she was willing. She was willing to do things. And I think that's a testimony to all of us, to at least try it. And that tolerant part of it, I think, came into that as well, that, you know, I'm going to try it. And she did. And so I just wanted to say that appreciated Frances's quiet nature and her determination to do what she had to do day in and day out. And it was a blessing to be able to know her.
Okay, someone else, either come to a microphone or raise your hand.
My name is Kara, and my family's sitting over there, and this is our daughter Lydia, and we met Scott and Frances through the world of adoption. And I really didn't know Frances that well in person, and I wasn't intertwined in her daily life like so many of you were. But the first time I remember meeting her was at our daughter Selah's memorial. And she came up and she gave me a hug, and I just knew she understood. They had just lost their house that year, and they'd gone through so much with Rebecca that year. And so from that time on, I just made sure to read all of her blog posts, and I felt like through those I got to know her. And at the end there in July, I asked Scott if I could share her blog post on our website. And so I put her words on our website, and that week there were at least 5,000 people that read her words. And I even had someone call me from a different state that just wanted to mention how much her words had meant. And so she just had a huge ministry, even just through the written word, just sharing about her faith in such a real way, you know, and not minimizing how hard it was and all the pain, but just sharing about heaven. And you could tell she knew heaven was real. And so many emails back, which I've collected for Scott, just so that they can read how much impact her words had. It was huge.
Thank you.
I'm Teresa Mathia, Kilo Echo 7, Tango November Tango. That's how I got to know Frances and Scott, is through ham radio. I don't know if I could do start crying. I got to know Frances mostly because of intercessory prayer for her family. I got to know her for ham first, with doing events with her and Scott. And then I'm a quiet person too, so that's kind of hard when two of you are quiet. But what meant the most to me is she would invite my husband and I and my daughter out to her house and for dinner, and taught me how to play pinochle, which I miss. And there was one time she invited me out for their picnic out at their house for their family, and I didn't go because I told her I didn't feel like I belonged there. And she said, "Why not? I consider you family." And it touched me so much because I didn't think that someone that didn't talk very much, two quiet people, it's kind of hard to get to know each other very well. But I supported her as much, and Scott, as I could on their blog and on his Facebook, because that's all I know how to do. But I want to tell you, she was an incredible lady. I got to visit with her a few times before she went home. And she just wanted to talk about Jesus, and that was okay with me. And I know that one of the times we shared, one of her biggest heart's desire is that all of her family and her friends can come to know Jesus the way she did. That was the biggest thing on her heart. And I just want to reiterate that if you don't know Him, I hope that there is no question in your mind that won't stop you from pursuing that personal, intimate relationship with Jesus Christ that she took with her and still has. And I just want to give God the glory that He's done so much for her and her family. That's what I have to say.
My name's Steve Johnson, also N7VIC, another ham radio operator. And I met Francis and Scott through the community events that we did together. And one of them proved to be quite an adventure for us. We were working an event out towards the coast, and it was getting late, and I was getting ready to head home, and Francis decided she would follow me. And I had this new thing called a GPS. We decided to take a shortcut over the Coast Range. We left at 9 o'clock, got home around 1. The thing that was fun about this is we tried all these little different forest roads that showed up on the map. And around midnight, I had come to what looked like a path. So I started down the path, got about 20 feet, and I was stuck. So Francis spent the next few minutes working to pull my truck back up the hill. And when I got back up the hill, I looked down and saw that was actually a creek bed I was in, full of rocks. She had pulled my Dodge pickup out of the creek bed with her little Subaru. And after the first flat tire, didn't say a whole lot. And she didn't say a whole lot after the second flat tire. But she did roll her eyes.
We have time for a few more.
There was Steve that night, his glorious GPS, and all I remember about Francis was she was extremely patient with both of us trying to get his truck out of what we call the glorified goat trail. And Scott also was pretty patient that night, having to fix all 3 flat tires and find us in the middle of the woods. It was a great memory I'll remember for the rest of my life. I ended up spending the night there with Scott and Francis, and that was when I really got to know them. But Francis was a very, very patient woman. I mean, I don't think I've ever remember a time where patience was not something that she had. It took a lot to get on her nerves or anything. She was just very patient and a wonderful lady. So the world is definitely a miss without her.
I don't know how many of you know, but Francis also had a lovely singing voice and was part of a group of women here at Laurel that sang for a few years. And one of the things, in addition to just her lovely voice, she read music really well and could sing almost any part, and was, as we've all been saying, willing to try anything. And so if we were short on one part and I would say, "Francis, do you think you could sing that part?" And she'd say, "Sure," you know, and she would just do it. And it was so much fun to have her in that group, and we missed her when they moved away, but it was certainly a pleasure to sing with her and just get to know her a little bit. So if you didn't know she sang, that's something else you can realize about her.
Charlie, why don't you share, and then the rest of you, if you have that little memory sheet, if you have a thought or a memory that's come up, please take the time to write down your treasured memory and then give it to Scott before you leave today.
Again, my name's Charlie. I was Francis' uncle, Betty's brother. Couple of stories. Number one is when Chuck and Betty were stationed in Germany, they were preparing to come home. Francis was about 2 and a half. Her brother, Charlie, was here a second ago. There he is. He was just an infant. And Chuck and Betty, in an effort to introduce Francis to the family, was showing her pictures, kind of like flashcards. This is your Uncle Frank. This is your this is your Grammy, and so on and so forth. And of course,